Oh, black coffee. Oh, Jigs. What a dreadful day. We haven't got any milk. Still, it could be worse. I know somebody else who's had a really dreadful day. In fact, it's the very name of the story that I'm about to read you. A dreadful day. When Jesus and his friends had finished their meal, they walked to a garden to pray. But that's where Jesus' enemies found him. The men had torches and clubs and sticks, and they were really quite frightening. And right in front of them all was Judas. He had been one of Jesus' friends. Judas crept up to Jesus and kissed him on the cheek. "This is the man that you want," said Judas. "Arrest him." Jesus looked really sad. Jesus' friends were scared. Most of them ran away, but not Peter. No. Peter pulled out this massive sword and started swinging it around his head, and Peter put it away. "This is not the time for fighting. I have to go with them. God wants me to." So they grabbed Jesus and dragged him before the religious leaders, the ones who were jealous of him. His trial took all night. "He says he will destroy our temple," said one man. "He says he is a king," said another. "He's a troublemaker," they all said. None of this, of course, was true, but it didn't matter, because the leaders had already made up their minds. Jesus was different from them. Jesus didn't do what they told him to do, so Jesus would have to die. They beat Jesus. They hit him really hard, and then they took away his clothes and put an old robe around his shoulders and jammed a crown made of thorns on his head. And while the blood ran down his forehead, they called him names and made fun of him. "So you think you're a king?" they laughed. "Well, look at you now." Jesus never said a word. His body hurt. His heart was breaking, but he never said a word. They took a cross next. It was made of heavy wood, and they laid it on his back. "Move along," they shouted, and they led him through the city. Some people cried when they saw him. Others cheered, but all of them followed as he lugged that huge cross through the city gates and up a nearby hill. When they got to the top, they laid Jesus on the cross and nailed him to it. It hurt so much. Then they raised the cross so that everybody could see him, and then they left him there to die. A thief hanging next to him was afraid, but Jesus talked to him and actually helped him feel a lot better. Jesus' mother was also in the crowd. So Jesus called to one of his friends and said, "Take care of her for me now, Peter, will you? She's your mother now." But most of the faces in the crowd were not so kind. "You saved other people," someone laughed. "So why can't you save yourself?" Jesus knew why. It wasn't because his enemies had won. It was because God wanted him there to take away all the bad things anyone has ever done. Soon the sky grew dark and the earth shook. It was as if God's own heart was breaking. And then it happened. "It's done," Jesus whispered. And in the sadness and in the dark, all alone, he died. You still there? Because, do you know what I'm thinking? That was a rubbish way to end a bedtime story, wasn't it? That was quite scary and really, really sad. And I'm thinking, if Mum and Dad's all right with this, can we just do one more story? Because actually that wasn't the end of the story. So we do need to just go on a little bit more. So extend your bedtime just by a little bit. I'm sure you won't mind. Okay? That last story was called A Dreadful Day. This one, funny enough, is called A Happy Day. It was very early. The birds were even still in their bed, and the sun had yet to open its bright eye on the world. The sky was grey and grainy, and the air was still cold. 3 women walked slowly towards the graveyard. Jesus was buried there, and the women were coming to visit his grave. They talked in sad whispers, they cried, and they held each other's hands. Jesus had been dead for 3 days now, and they missed him so much. Just as they reached the graveyard, however, some surprising things happened. The ground began to shake, the air began to tremble, and quick as lightning, an angel flashed down from heaven and rolled the stone away from Jesus' tomb. Everything went quiet again. The ground stopped moving, but the woman shook with fear. "Hey, don't be afraid," the angel said. "Come and see for yourself. The tomb's empty. Jesus, he's alive." Arm in arm, the woman crept past the angel and into the tomb. The sheets were still there, the sheets that had wrapped round his dead body, but Jesus himself was gone. "Where is he?" asked the woman. "What have you done with him?" "I told you," smiled the angels. "He's not dead anymore. He's come back to life, and he wants you to tell all his friends." Wow, the women, they looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They could hardly believe it. That is, until they hurried out of the tomb and ran straight into Jesus. "Oh, Jesus," they cried, "it's true. You are alive." And they fell at his feet amazed. "There's no need to be afraid anymore," he said. "God has made everything all right. But I have got a job for you. I want you to tell the rest of my friends that I am alive. Tell them that I will meet them on the seashore in Galilee, where all of our adventures started." The woman waved goodbye, hurried off to Jerusalem. The birds were now singing, the sun's bright eye was wide open, and they had the most amazing story to tell. Good night.
Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, you are my shield, my protector. I can lie down, go off to sleep, knowing you're watching over me. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, help me to trust you forever. I need not fear, 'cause you are near. I can lie down and sleep in peace. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, You are my shield, my protector. I can lie down, go off to sleep, knowing you're watching over me. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, help me to trust you forever. I need not fear, 'cause you are near. I can lie down and sleep in peace. Wonderful God, you are my shield, my protector. I can lie down, go off to sleep, knowing you're watching over me. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, help me to trust you forever. I need not fear, 'cause you are near. I can lie down and sleep in peace. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, you are my shield, my protector. I can lie down, go off to sleep, knowing you're watching over me. Wonderful Lord, wonderful God, help me to trust you forever. I need not fear, 'cause you are near. I can lie down and